Good evening. Thank you for attending the 2014 FHCCA Candidates Forum, and we do appreciate your attendance. My name is Jerry Caldwell, and this is the president of FHCCA Boyce. That's hard to say. Boyce Baldwin, who will be our moderator this evening. Please allow me to introduce our candidates from left to right in alphabetical order. Lena Bellinaire, Nick DePorter, Henry Lazier. You may clap. Henry Lazier, and Alan Magazine. Thank you very much again for attending. We appreciate your time and being here. Boys?
Well, as Jerry mentioned, my name is Boyce Baldwin. I'm the president of the Fountain Hills Cultural and Civic Association. We're here tonight to hear these four candidates discuss their positions. And we've got 3 openings on the council, so these 4 candidates, you'll have to make a decision. And the 3 that you elect will be serving in our next in the next session. And so we hope that you go into your heart and really pick out who you think are the best candidates. I do want to read just a little blurb here about the election. And citizens wanting to register to vote in the Tuesday, August 26th primary election will have until next Monday to make sure they are registered. The registration deadline is midnight, July 28th. Early ballots for the election will be placed in the mail on Thursday, July 31st. Those who are not already on the permanent early voter list need to make a request for one. Those receiving the early ballots are encouraged to mark their ballots and return it as quickly as possible to avoid delays in tallying votes after Election Day. Registered voters may request an early ballot at the Maricopa County Recorder's website. Fountain Hills Town Hall will also be an early voting site beginning on Monday, August 4th, during regular business hours, Monday through Thursday, from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. People may turn in their early ballots and replace a lost or spoiled ballot. Now, to kind of go over what we're going to be doing here tonight, this is sponsored by the Fountain Hills Cultural and Civic Association, the oldest nonprofit in the town of Fountain Hills. And to do my quick ad, if you have not already picked up one of these and are not a member of the Fountain Hills Cultural and Civic Association, we have a lot of brochures back in the back, and we would love to have you join and support this wonderful organization. The format tonight will be approximately 60 minutes long. It may go over about 15 minutes or so, but the candidates have all agreed to stay after. In case you have further questions and you want to talk to one of the candidates, they will make themselves available. Each candidate will have a 3-minute time period for their introduction. They will go through, and each one will do that. There will be a 2-minute per question time limit on the questions that we have prepared. Then, at the end, there will be a 3-minute wrap-up. So each candidate can restate or wrap up in the last 3 minutes. I'm repeating myself. I apologize. This is being filmed tonight. It will be shown on Channel 11, and it will also be on the town website. So if you need to go back and check anything that you think you heard or wanted to hear, you can do that. But more importantly, tell your friends out there. Let them know that this is available, and even though they couldn't be here tonight, they can still see the candidates on film. And earlier, we passed out, the candidates drew cards to see who would take the first question or the first intro. And Councilman Leger won that, if that's what you want to call. He was our lucky winner tonight, so I will...
It's the only time I've ever won anything.
There is a timer. You will see it here. When there's 30 seconds left, it will start flashing. When their time is up, you'll hear a beep. And Mr. Caldwell over here, who I've known for years and years, but he keeps forgetting my name. Just had to. He will be in charge of time. So with that, Councilman.
Very good. Thank you. Good evening and welcome. It's great to have an opportunity to be before you this evening, and I want to thank the Fountain Hills Civic and Cultural Association for sponsoring this event. My name is Henry Leger. I'm currently a council member and running for re-election. My wife Jan and I moved to Fountain Hills some 22 years ago, although it feels just like yesterday. As many of you did, we moved to Fountain Hills for its small-town character, as a safe and comfortable place to live and hopefully one day retire. We have two daughters, Kristen and Marissa, both college-bound and graduates of Fountain Hills High School. I hold a master's degree and have worked professionally in the field of leadership and organizational development for over 25 years. My focus primarily is in leadership development and organizational effectiveness, also working as an internal consultant, a business consultant in Fortune 500 companies. The goal there, once again, was enhancing employee performance as well as bottom line for organizations. In addition to serving on council, I'm a board member on Senior Services, Inc., have several memberships in organizations in Fountain Hills. Of course, FHCCA, I need to put that plug in. I'm a member of the Cultural Association. Sister Cities, a friend of the council chamber, as well as a friend of the recently established Business Alliance. In addition to serving on council, there's been a lot of volunteer work that I've been involved in prior to being on council, and I continue to do that. Getting down to council member, as I mentioned, I'm an incumbent. As a council member, I have consistently worked very hard, and I've consistently strived to make decisions that are in the best interest of the community. Making informed decisions is really important to me. Drilling down on agenda items and paying attention to each and every item is paramount to how I operate, as well as I would expect anyone here would be operating sitting as a council person. What do I bring to the table? Experienced leadership, fiscal responsibility, vision and integrity, dedication to community, and dedication to public service. As your council member or council representative, I have and I will continue to sustain our town's financial health and public safety. I think those are critical. There's no quality of life without public safety. Advance our economic development and tourism programs. We have some new programs there. We're excited. We've begun rolling them out. Maintaining our town's roads and infrastructure, preserving our small town character and natural environment. Since serving on council, much has been achieved collectively by town council and staff. We need to recognize as a council, we work collectively. It takes 4 votes to move things forward. I am proud to have been part of those accomplishments. Managing our way through one of the worst downturns in the economy, I feel like I've made sound decisions that have placed us in an awesome place to move forward. To learn more about my service, please check out my website. I've left some business cards back there. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Mr. Allen Magazine.
Thank you, Boyce. Jerry, pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting us. Let me start by saying I'm a member of the FHCCA and have been pleased to participate in the juried art shows in the past few years. And in fact, this past year I was delighted to serve as a judge. The FHCCA, in my opinion, is symbolic of everything that's good about Fountain Hills. I could extol the virtues of both the FHCCA and Fountain Hills all evening. But that's not why I'm running. I'm running to base my candidacy on issues. By the way, if you want to know my background, it's extensive. I have a brochure in the back of the room, but I'm not going to take my time right now to go through it. Let me just say that like every city and town in America, Fountain Hills has challenges. And these are challenges that we can't ignore. We have to deal with them, and I'm sure we will. But just to cite a few statistics, the last census indicated that we lost 2,000 residents. Now, apparently there's been a slight uptick in the last couple of years, but we did lose residents. The last census indicated that the percentage of people 65 and over went up 61%. I want to repeat that. 65 and over went up 61%. I are one. The number of school children has declined each of the last 10 years. Now, we've gained school children, but we've lost more than we've gained. We've lost 43% of our staff, and our budget has down about 21% since 2008. Those have all kinds of implications, which I don't have time to discuss, but hopefully we'll get into in the Q&A. Despite all this, I think we have a very bright future. And I think we have a bright future in part because we have some plans going forward. I'm serving as the chairman of the Town Strategic Planning Advisory Commission, and we have come up with a strategic plan, an economic development plan, which has been approved unanimously by the council, and we're starting to move on that. It's absolutely necessary that we get more small businesses, non-retail businesses, into Fountain Hills. Hopefully people that have executives with higher salaries who spend their money in the town, that increase the sales tax rate, the sales taxes and so on, who might have young children that will be in our schools, and certainly will add patrons to our retail businesses. It's absolutely critical that we be competitive with other towns in the valley. Right now, we're not at all competitive. So we need to do things to make sure we are competitive so that when people are looking to expand their businesses or move to Fountain Hills or move to the valley, that we have something to say about where they go, that we can introduce ourselves to them. Second thing is we need to increase our population overall, but we also need to introduce ourselves to the valley. I contend that many people in the valley don't even know we exist. When I do art shows, I often have people come up to me and they see Fountain Hills and they say, "Where's that?" And I'll say, "How long have you lived in Scottsdale?" "Oh, 14 years. They think that we are a wealthy enclave, those who know about us, far out in the desert that's difficult to get to. We need to introduce ourselves to the valley. There are a number of ways to do that, and perhaps we'll get into that in the Q&A. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Belliner.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lena Belliner. I've been a resident of Fountain Hills for 14 years, and I'm running for town council because I believe the next council is capable of dramatically reshaping the future of Fountain Hills, and that each of you here this evening are critical to its growth. I'm a paralegal, an entrepreneur, a policymaker, and a business leader, and I love Fountain Hills as you do. I bring to the table a vision, a unique real-life experience that can only make Fountain Hills a better place for each of us. Everything I've learned has been in the real world, actual hands-on experience. My teachers were individuals like each of you. Everywhere I have been, I've always made it a point to give back to my community. Fountain Hills is about family, culture, arts, and heritage, right and wrong, and conservative values. Small business owners who take risks with their financial resources to fulfill a dream. They are the backbone of this community. And all that they ask is to be left alone by government so the free market and rugged individualism can reign. I was a business owner. I was also part of a dream of my husband's family back in Detroit, where they opened up a small pizza parlor that they started to deliver pizzas in a black Cadillac. 40 years later, Giovanni's is a 5-star gourmet Italian restaurant and a shining star in the city of Detroit. It's a 2-time recipient of the Dorona Award, and stars like George Clooney and Red Skelton and Frank Sinatra have dined there. Those real-life lessons were brought to Fountain Hills when we opened up Sorelli's from the Vine. You may ask why I'm running. I'm running because I want to bring a breath of fresh air to the process of government with bolder, fresher ideas and more responsive government. My platform for our town is simple. Government's role is limited to providing fire, police, and parks and streets. Stop wasteful spending, a strong, vibrant economic base through the free enterprise system, smaller, more efficient government, and I want to help bring forth managed growth. So how do we accomplish this? We encourage focus on improvement of commercial areas. We mobilize resources to retain existing businesses. We review ordinances to keep them current. Convene a summit with out-of-state landlords. That's a conversation long overdue. I want to encourage and support special events like the Stroll in the Glow, the Business Showcase, fireworks, and festivals. I want to keep up to date with technology that can help us work smarter and more efficient. I also want to develop a Fountain Hills app for smartphones. And I want to support the contract with Maricopa County Sheriff's Office and Rural Metro. Lastly, running for office is very tough. One's life becomes an open book. But your vote is precious, and I want you to ask yourself this evening, have you felt alienated by those you previously elected? Have they been responsive? If so, I want to correct that. In closing, I want to thank you. I want to thank the Fountain Hills Cultural and Civic Society, and especially each of you this evening in the audience.
Thank you very much. Mr. DePorter.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to one-up everybody on their FHCCA involvement. I'm on the board of FHCCA. They wouldn't let me screen the questions. I tried to screen the questions, but they wouldn't let me. But I thank you for putting this on. I think that's fantastic. My name is Nick DePorter. I'm 37 years old. My wife and I have lived in Fountain Hills for 4 years. Those are our small children back there that could scream at any moment, so they're already on the evacuation path out of the room, so I apologize in advance. My father-in-law is there, my mother-in-law as well. She's my treasurer, and that's always a true sign you could work with anybody when you have your mother-in-law as a treasurer. I think that's been, but it's been a good experience. For work, I am currently responsible for employer development at Arizona State University. What that means is we work with corporations, nonprofits, and governmental agencies to engage with the university for recruitment purposes, but also for research and philanthropic investment. That also means that I'm at the table at some very important discussions that are very relevant to what the town is facing when it comes to economic development. I sit on committees for the Arizona Commerce Authority as well as the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, and those committees convene when they have a secret meeting of a company that wants to come to town, and we present to them what the pipeline of students would look like from ASU and how the university can position to be their partner. I'm well fit to do those kind of, to be thinking that way, and I could, of course, put on another hat and always be thinking of Fountain Hills, which I already am when I'm sitting in those environments. I also have a unique perspective on town. I have, my parents are in their 80s, my recently retired in-laws. We all live within about a mile of each other, right by the Boys and Girls Club. My wife and I commute to town. We have young children that are going to be starting in school here. They're not in kindergarten yet, but they will certainly be here in town in the public school when they can. And so we see things through all lenses. And I get to hear from my parents, to my in-laws, to ourselves who have to commute in and out of town of what it's like to be here. I bring 3 areas of emphasis. One, I mentioned being the family candidate. I want to look through things through the lens of people who have young children. And who are thinking about certainly the long term of what that's like to raise a child in this town. I bring collaborative leadership. I can meet with any group, and I do that at work. It's something I do. I'm a consensus builder. I can listen to all sides and then make an informed decision, which is obviously very important for the town. And finally, like I said, I'm very experienced in the area of economic development. Particularly, I'm also vice chair of the Strategic Planning Advisory Commission, and I help develop the work with the economic development plan, and we're trying to see it through implementation. I want to put more resources behind the economic development plan, like myself and others, to sit there with Scott Cooper, who's our part-time person doing that, and actually put more feet on the ground to do that. And you should elect people that are going to be standing next to him, because that's a very important role that it's going to take us into the next generation. And finally, I feel like I bring a fresh perspective to town with my views. I'm new here. I don't have any baggage. I don't think anybody hates me yet. Although Jerry looks at me funny sometimes, Jerry Miles. I think he's every now and then. But thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, now we'll start the question phase of this. And Councilman, we'll start with you.
Card?
Yes, I've got the card, number 1. And after that, the next question we will move alphabetically. So Mr. Magazine, and then on, we'll just go around like that, starting in alphabetical order. So you've already heard the term economic development already this evening, and it is crucial to both our town and school district. But we need more population to generate more sales tax revenue, to provide customers for our businesses, and to grow our school student population. So the fundamental question would be, what can town government or the town council do to promote population growth?
Very good, thank you. Let me talk about what town government is already doing to promote population growth. I think that's a good place to start. When I view economic development, it's like a three-legged stool. We've heard about economic development, we've heard about tourism, and there's residential and commercial development. What the town has done recently is approved an amendment to the Adero Canyon development. That will yield more rooftops. There's an expansion plan for Copperwind Hotel up there. That will bring more rooftops. Rooftops equal higher population and more customers for our businesses. In addition to that, we've annexed the property over there. It's a potential for about 1,300 homes by 2.5 people per home. I mean, that's a huge population. My calculations indicate, based on our current population, that if you can increase your population by about 2,000 people, it can yield about $1.3 million additional dollars in sales tax revenue. So the question is right on. That's what we need to do. We need to raise our population. We do that by more roofs on the ground. Council has several development agreements in place that will do exactly that. Thank you.
I think there are a number of things we can do. First and foremost, the town used to have a PR person, doesn't anymore. I think we have to have a public affairs professional who is feeding information to the Republic, which hardly ever covers us, to TV and radio about what goes on in this town. That's been an uphill fight. I think there are ways to do that. We now have a new website. It's an economic development website, and we also are in social media. So, and that was put together by our new half-time economic development person. It's an outstanding site, and that's the first place, or one of the first places people go to when they're thinking about either moving a business or moving to a town or whatever. Events. This town is known for events and volunteers. We probably have more volunteers in this town per capita than any town in the valley. We have all kinds of events. Those certainly are helping. I read a retrospective in the Fountain Hills Times a few weeks ago that you probably saw, and it indicated that many years ago, Count Basie was here, Arthur Fiedler was here, drew 20,000 to 30,000 people from all over the valley. There are all kinds of things that we can do to get people to pay attention to Fountain Hills. This is an outstanding town, and I don't think we wave our flag high enough. The fountain is wonderful, but we've got to become known for more than the fountain, although I would like to see the fountain running more than just 10 to 15 minutes an hour. So there are a number of things that we can do. Some of them are already in the making. We need to continue our efforts, but first and foremost, the town can't do it, the government can't do it itself, the town manager can't do it himself, the mayor and council can't do it themselves. It takes the citizens. All of us have to speak up loudly about the virtues of Fountain Hills. We need everybody pulling in the same direction, and I think that can be done.
Thank you. First of all, we need to expand the role of Scott Cooper. He is a part-time employee. He only works 20 hours a week, and with my marketing skills, I would like to assist him. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Our icon is the majestic fountain. It needs to be on all the time. That's what's going to draw the people to this community. We have lost our way when we only turn that fountain on part-time. Government's role basically is to ensure that new and existing businesses aren't burdened to onerous and unnecessary regulations, and we have to improve that environment. We need to encourage an environment that welcomes new businesses. The town has come a long way recently with respect to finalizing reforms to that effect, but we still need improvement. For example, the new sign ordinance that was recently passed by a 5-2 vote was a step in the right direction. It helps businesses, but the incumbent legislator basically voted no against that, so that's a vote against businesses. We need to lobby the state of Arizona for a Commerce Authority satellite office here that will allow and help small businesses with the permitting and regulation process so that they don't feel very overwhelmed in the process. We need to lobby also for a society of retired executives to establish a branch office here that can assist and mentor young aspiring entrepreneurs. I applaud the Fountainside Plaza merchants because they're the ones that are working together. They're working cohesively together to cross-market each other. And they have festivals all the time at that plaza, which is what all businesses should be doing. Again, we need to all pull together all parts of the market within Fountain Hills. The business community, the realtors, the town, everybody has to be pulling together. We have a lot of empty buildings within our community. Those empty buildings need to be revitalized and they need to be marketed and showcased. We can showcase them in the Renaissance Walk. Let's call it the Renaissance Walk of Fountain Hills. And again, we need to convene a summit of the landlords. There are landlords that are out-of-state landlords who create problems with high rents. Somehow, that conversation needs to get started. Thank you.
Sorry, I do that. I believe the answer to population growth lies under the umbrella of economic development. It's one and the same for me in my book. Putting more resources behind what they're doing in that office, Scott as a person in his role, behind the economic development plan as it stands, and actually getting more legs on the ground and being part of those conversations that are happening around the valley. Going local, I think, is another, it's just an overall piece of economic development that I think needs to be part of our culture shift. I've been to communities up north and then just even in downtown Phoenix where go buy local, go local, live local. It's embedded in the culture of the people who live in those neighborhoods. You see bumper stickers on their cars, you see signs on their businesses, you actually see incentive programs for people to be shopping locally and investing more in their community. I think that's very important. I think we talk about that. I think some of our businesses do it well, and they'll put a sign out every now and then that says how important it is to go local, but I think we all need to be talking about that and living that. We need to continue being customer service friendly. I think that differentiates us from other municipalities where you can really help a business that wants to come here, a community that wants to be planned here, and be really good to interface with. I know in my line of work, we differentiate ourselves all the time by being very responsive and giving a high level of customer service, like a concierge office, and I think that applies to public service as well in what we do here. We also need more amenities in town that are going to attract people. So I think the Fountain is great. I think our events are fantastic. But we see things like over in Scottsdale around McCormick Steel Railroad Park. It's like there's people just flock to that, and that would certainly attract more families. But it's also, there's a lot of grandparents in town, and there's also a lot of grandparents who are raising their grandchildren in town that I've met while I've been campaigning, which I think is really neat. And there's enough children here that I think we need to be doing more things like that to attract.
All right, thank you all. All right, Mr. Magazine. Because the Saguaro bond issue was a success, work will start on Saguaro this fall. Our other two major arteries, Fountain Hills Boulevard and Palisades, are also aging and need the same repairs as Saguaro. As our infrastructure continues to age, would you support additional bond issues to use for these needed repairs? If not, what alternatives would you propose?
First, let me say that, as you said, a bond issue passed to basically rebuild Saguaro. The council has, in addition, decided that in 2015 they'd put aside $1 million a year to do essentially a sixth, to resurface with slurry and so on, a sixth of the roads. Some of those roads really need to be rebuilt, but because of a shortage of funds, there's just no way to accommodate that. The two arterials you mentioned, Fountain Hills Boulevard and Palisades, in addition to Saguaro, are probably our major thoroughfares. And as they deteriorate, they say a lot about the town. Good roads are a critical part of economic development. Nobody wants to come to this town and open a business, start a business in a town that looks like it's deteriorating. So the answer to your question is, depending upon the cost, depending upon the impact, the economic impact on the voters, and depending upon the amount of deterioration we see in those roads, I would seriously consider a bond issue, but I'd want it very targeted, just like the one for Saguaro. I'd want people to understand that the money that's raised through the bond issue is going for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to rebuild an individual highway. But again, it's a hard question to answer in generalities until you have a lot of the specifics. But overall, meeting the conditions that I mentioned, I would probably look favorably upon an individual bond issue for a road.
Thank you. My position is this, is that we, as council people, we have an obligation to make sure that we are fervent in protecting the financial resources of this community. The town has operational priorities, and they are basically pavement management, economic development, Fountain Lake, and the fire station and the facilities replacement fund. Those are core responsibilities. And I would limit any time that we need to go to the public to ask for more money. I would think twice, analyze, look at everything thoroughly, but their obligation, the town's obligation, is to make sure that we provide safe streets for easy ingress and egress out of this community. Thank you.
I think it'd be important. I think it was very well done that the council was able to tuck away the $1 million a year to make a plan like that come to fruition. I think it's unfortunate that something like that wasn't done earlier on in much earlier leaderships, and they had to react to that and make that happen. So I applaud that effort. I think you do have to look at what's going on in the current situation at the time. We were certainly at a place. I sat on the road bond committee as well. We were in a place that the road was going to cost us more money if we didn't do it. So it's when you make that's when you make a business decision, just like you would do for your own household. When we get to that place with Fountain Hills Boulevard and Palisades, I think it's only right that you make those same kind of analysis, see where you're at, and if we are in the same situation, I absolutely would support it again. And if I wasn't elected, I'd sit on the road bond committee again. Very poignant.
Thank you. Councilman?
I think it's extremely important to have a good arms wrapped around council finances and budgets. There are 22 books that you need to get your arms wrapped around. And it's really interesting being an incumbent because I've lived it, and I'm hearing people reinvent the past that I've lived. But bottom line is this, is that when you look at our revenue and expenditures, we can cover our basic services up into 2019. That includes road construction, reef pavement, so forth and so on. The idea that the roads have been neglected is just not factual. In the last 5 years, we've spent $8 million on roads, even though our HERF funds have been swept from the legislative government body. That has included slurry sealing, microsurfacing, as well as road reconstruction. But as any municipality, we do have to attract more business, more revenue, and reevaluate in 2019 where our revenue is at with respect for the need for a bond. We've done an incredible job paying off debt. We have debt coming due. Our town manager and myself have discussed extensively calculations on when that debt becomes due, those dollars can be used for capital funds for roads. We have 2 road programs going on. One is pavement management, and the other one is asphalt replacement. As Lena mentioned, one of our priorities in this budget is to isolate funds for pavement replacement. If we can do that effectively, we may not need to go to a bond. But when you look at arterials, that's typically how municipalities do it. They bond for those major boulevards. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Ms. Belliner.
Yes.
If you are elected to town council, how would you propose the town work more closely with the Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Business Alliance in bringing more business to the town? And this is a loaded question from me. And do you see a role for the organizations like the Fountain Hills Cultural and Civic Association and many other service organizations toward that effort?
Oh, absolutely. I think every single aspect of this, every single market within this community needs to look and be working together and pulling together and working together. What I would like to do once I'm elected is bring the Chamber of Commerce. I was a board member of the Chamber of Commerce. I sat on the board of the tourism. And so I know how difficult it is to get that message out. But what I'd like to do is take the Chamber of Commerce, the Business Alliance, all of the realtors. I would like to ask Scott Cooper to join that venture and have a meeting and sit down so that we can all work together and develop a plan to basically market this community. And I'd like to start with the Renaissance Walk that I talked about. There's buildings in this community that have been empty for as long as I've been a resident. And those zones need to be targeted, and we need to showcase those buildings. And we can stage them just like realtors stage a home. And basically, we can bring in people to buy those buildings, to look at them as investments, and fill those buildings up. Once we stage them, we can promote them and create it as an event, a Renaissance Walk. I keep talking about that because I'm excited about the concept. But yes, we can do it.
Thank you very much. Mr. DeFore.
I think it's important we work with everybody that's willing to work with us. I think the Chamber, I think there's an opportunity with the change of leadership at the Chamber of Commerce, and that the Chamber and the Greater Phoenix and the Greater Business Alliance work more together, if not become one organization, since they have their mission is very closely aligned. And I think that's very important that we don't, in such a small town, there's really no need to have two groups working towards the same mission. It'd be great if we can collaborate on that. I think beyond them, I think any service organization in town have done so much already for this town. We spoke to Rotary, and I could not say enough about Splash Pad. I mean, that place is fantastic. It draws people in from out of town, draws people in from in town, so you can see the impact that our service organizations have. And I also think it's very important that we work with our neighbors, Fort McDowell as well. I mean, their advertising budget is our town budget, basically for their billboards almost when you drive around town for crab legs. So let's partner with them because we benefit, and so would they, with drawing more people here. We already work with them on tourism. I think we should make it a more robust partnership by reaching out.
With respect to those relationships, I think there's certainly room for improvement. Once again, I think you need to look at what's occurring. The town manager works closely, staff work closely with the chamber, particularly in collaborating community events, special events, pulling off the great fairs, the stroll and the glow, so forth and so on. Our staff has a good relationship with the Fountain Hills Civic and Cultural Association in terms of our art programs. So there exist good relationships, but there's always room for improvement in those particular relationships. Sitting here thinking about the question or hearing the question, specific actions that I'd like to see take place, kind of going back full circle to some of the things that were done in the past, leadership's transition and those things have gone by the wayside. But specifically, rather than talking in platitudes, let's talk about very specific actions. I believe what I would like to see and get back to is having the chamber semi-annually come before council and update council on their initiatives, what they're engaged in, what their priorities. Same thing for FHC. You guys need to change your letters there. Your Civic and Cultural Association, the same particular strategy, and the Business Alliance as well as having the town manager attend chamber meetings, etc., semi-annually. Those are actions that build relationships. It's collaboration that solves problems, and there's certainly room for improvement in that area. And one other specific action that I'd like to see is basically an annual summit that brings all of those people together and staff to share ideas and look at possible collaborations moving forward. Thank you.
I agree with Councilman Leger that action is required. We can talk all day long about ideas, but until we get in gear and start doing things, they mean nothing. As chairman of the Strategic Planning Advisory Commission, I started talking to the leadership of the chamber over a year ago. We have, as we've all said, an economic development strategy. It's very complex, it's very difficult, and it's a lot of work, and we need a lot of help. Right now, as you've heard, we have a half-time person working on it. We're not going to get a lot done with just a half-time person. So I started meeting with Sean White, who just left as chairman of the board of the chamber. We started talking over a year ago about getting the chamber involved in economic development. They haven't been. It's in their best interest, because if we can get new businesses to town, there's more patrons for the retail shops. So we've talked about how the chamber might get involved in helping us to implement some of the economic development strategy. I've also talked to Jay Schlum, Mayor Jay Schlum, who just became chairman of the board of the chamber, about the same thing. And we're all in agreement. So things are already starting. Service organizations. I've started talking to the heads of some of the service organizations about the idea of, well, let me back up for a second. We all were at a Rotary luncheon where we spoke, but before we spoke, the president of the Rotary did a retrospective, I got to speak quickly, a retrospective on all the projects they've done. I think we should get the heads of the major organizations together and agree that even if it's one project a year, let's try to coordinate. Let's do things for the town. We're not going to dictate to these organizations, but if we can get together and agree on a range of projects that will enhance the town, that will have a ripple effect in terms of increasing our population, getting more businesses to town. Those are the kinds of things we need to do. And we need to go to the citizens and say, what should those projects be? What do you want to see? They don't have to cost millions of dollars. They might cost $2,000. But we should all get together and talk about what we can do to enhance this town.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Porter. Many people have moved to Fountain Hills for the family and the hometown feel. Much of that comes from the spirit of volunteerism and serving the community. What activities specific to Fountain Hills have you taken a leadership role in or been very involved in? And of those, which outcome do you think made a positive difference in our town?
Thanks for the question. I do agree that the volunteerism in this town is amazing. I think it's fantastic. I think Heather Ware, the town, does a fantastic job. She throws great volunteer appreciation parties, and I love the Make a Difference Day and all the things that we all get involved in. Within the town, I believe this is my third year on Strategic Planning Advisory Commission. I served as chair last year, where we developed the plan and we reached out to ASU for that study on the census and where we were headed. I also am on the board for the Fountain Hills Cultural and Civic Association, where I helped Jerry at the last election, the road bond election, and the school bond, where we held a forum for that. And I love putting on those things to inform the public. I think that's really important service to the public and to draw attendance to that. I managed the Facebook page for both the road bond and the school bond elections for the pro sides of it, so I was good at crowd raising and drawing people to those events. Specific to town, being on the road bond and the school bond committee, I think were the most impactful. I was excited to see the citizens of the town decide to invest in the future of the town, certainly in the future of our road, but also in the future of our children in the town. You know, it's always telltale. I even have even my 84-year-old dad understands that that's important. You know, and he watches Fox News all day long, so he doesn't always get what's where, and that's nothing against Fox News, everybody, but all day long. So it's nothing that now he understands why those things are important. I believe that volunteerism will continue to be important in this town, and I think we need to harness that to put it towards efforts that like economic development and harness the energies of our citizens. Thanks.
Having lived in Fountain Hills for 22 years, there's been an opportunity to engage in a lot of volunteerism, starting with church. I mentioned church because church spends a lot of time engaging in activities that help the food bank. I've worked and volunteered in my homeowners association. My family, my wife, my children have been volunteering since they've been in this town. As a matter of fact, I have a daughter that's graduated from university that's dedicated to public service, just applied to the Peace Corps, was accepted. We'll be sad to see her to move on. So it's a family tradition. Specifically, two that are more notable with respect to the town arena. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a member of the Senior Services, Inc. Senior Services, Inc. primarily is the umbrella organization that makes decisions and operates home-delivered meals. I don't think there's anyone in here that's not aware of home-delivered meals and the impact of home-delivered meals. The other organization I'm involved in Probably not as much as I'd like to be because time constraints. Our Sister Cities program does a tremendous job in terms of outreach to other countries, engaging in trips with our high school students to give them a little flavor, if you may, of traveling abroad, which is paramount, I think, in a high school education. And as was mentioned, we have a volunteer coordinator, Heather Weir, that does a tremendous job. It's taken several years to move that from a budgetary perspective into a full-time position. So I think you're going to be seeing increasingly more activity in volunteerism coming out of Town Hall specifically. Thank you.
I've lived in Fountain Hills about 8 years. My wife Cynthia and I started out as snowbirds. Within 1 year, we decided that we didn't want to be snowbirds. We wanted to be here full time. We decided to get involved. Cynthia's in her 3rd year as president of the Friends of the Library. I've been a member of the Strategic Planning Advisory Commission now for 5 years. As Nick said, Nick was chairman last year. I'm chairman this year. It's been an intensive time to be on SPAC. Every 5 years, we have to update the comprehensive plan, the long-range comprehensive plan. That was a heck of an undertaking. I personally interviewed 23 people in town in depth to get their feelings about the town and asked very specific, structured questions. Interestingly enough, 2 out of the 23 said they weren't happy. The other 21 said they loved the town, which I think is fairly typical. In addition to that, that effort, which also included a number of community meetings, we oversaw, as we've said, the development of the economic development strategic plan, which again was quite an undertaking. Using consultants, the members of SPAC and others, we came up with a plan. We debated the plan, and we then passed it on to council that adopted it unanimously. And those have been my activities.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Councilman. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. No problem. Thank you. I've been a resident, as I stated in my introduction, for 14 years, and the activities that I've been involved in basically have been, I sat on the board, Chamber of Commerce, for many years. I was on the tourism board for many years. I was a business owner in this community for many years. I served as a volunteer in the McDowell Mountain Preservation Commission, where I actually hiked for the first time in my life, and I think I lost 900 pounds when I did that. But it just showed me how beautiful this community is and the incredible vistas that we have, and how blessed we are to live in this community. I also served as the secretary and vice president of the Neighborhood Property Owners Association, which is the largest property owners association within the town of Fountain Hills, where there's over 4,000 residents, homes. My experience in this town has been varied, and it's been hands-on and real-life practical experience. I've also volunteered for the Daughters of Isabella, which is through the Church of Ascension. I'm an advocate against elder abuse. In fact, I'm heavily involved in a situation in Apache Junction where we're very close to getting a conviction of an individual who has been preying on elders. And I work hard against that. And retirement for me was not the answer, because right now I was offered a position to sit at the front desk at the Lexington Hotel, and as mundane as that may sound, 3 days a week I check in and check out the guests there, and I'm an ambassador at that desk for this community. We have visitors from all over the world that come here, and their first point of contact is me. And it's up to me to show them and tell them about this wonderful community and what is offered to them when they have a chance to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now, I apologize.
Oh, that's all right.
The median project along the avenue. Perhaps our residents don't know enough about it, although they're interested in it. That's not really the question, but I know that every day I'm explaining it to someone, what is going on the avenue. But once completed, we expect that many more people will be able to go down to the avenue, visit, and enjoy it, and we're hoping that it enhances the businesses that are located along there. What are your thoughts about the median project? Do you support it? Should more have been done? Should less have been done? Was too much money spent on the project? Do you believe the median project will impact businesses on the avenue? And do you consider this project business friendly?
Are you going to be able to repeat half of those questions back?
Yeah, not fair, that's too many questions.
First and foremost, the median project is a capital improvement project that's been in queue for town council for several years. The only thing that stopped it in its tracks was the downturn of the economy. Current council moved it forward. We originally had a budget of, estimates were coming in about 2.1, 2.2 million, but council members worked with developers and got it down to about 1.6 million. A lot of people think that that is an awful lot of money. The majority of that is infrastructure, aging infrastructure, 40-year-old infrastructure, so forth and so on. First and foremost, I think it's an incredible project. It's going to be awesome when it's completed, and it's definitely going to have an impact on, I think, in bringing foot traffic to downtown, a particular area. I think it's an incredibly business-friendly project as well. That was done over the years by council being prudent and saving money from the 0.1% excise tax that's put aside for downtown development. That fund was up to about 2.3 million. We just spent 1.6. Some people think it's a lot. It is a lot of money. Could we have done more? Absolutely, but I think it's a balanced plan that deals with about $1 million in infrastructure under the ground and some statics above the ground. Is there any part of the question that I missed?
I think you got it.
Okay. Because I sense that I've missed part of it.
30 seconds.
I'll give you a pass.
All right, thank you. Hopefully the voters do as well.
It's very coincidental that you asked that question, because literally today I was with my doctor, who will go unnamed, who said to me, why are they spending all that money just to beautify that area and build and put in more trees? And I said, well, do you know what that was costing us in lost water and electrical problems and roots coming up and killing the trees and all kinds of problems? He said, no, I didn't know that. He said, why don't they tell us that? I said, it's been in the Times in detail many times. He said, well, okay, I guess I don't read it enough. And that's part of our problem. Part of our problem is communication, and I think we have to deal with that, and I have some ideas on that too, but that's for another time. I'm in favor of the project. I think it's well conceived. I think it's fair in terms of the cost. I think it will enhance business. I think it will help bring people to town. And, again, economic development. When people are looking to whether or not to move a business to this town, they've got to see that the town is not stagnating, that the town is doing what it can to beautify the town and keep up with the times. So I'm very much in favor of it. I can't think of other things that I would add to it to make it better. Once it's built, maybe I would come up with something. But there's also something else. Hopefully, we're going to live long enough to see the other side of Avenue of the Fountains be developed. Mm-hmm. And if it's developed, and I'm slightly optimistic that that's going to happen in the not-too-distant future, then we absolutely need the median between the two sides to look good, to look modern, to be friendly not only to businesses, but friendly to our visitors who come to town. So I'm very much in favor of it.
Ms. Belliner.
Thank you. I would start off by saying that first I would have liked to have seen the south side of the Avenue of the Fountains developed. I think that should have been a primary concentration. Although I too, as I was campaigning for signatures, a lot of the residents did come to me and ask me why. And I looked into the issue and looked at what is happening there, and it did need to be done. With the root structure, with the trees, with the safety factor involved, we needed to have an upgrade there. But I am concerned about the overages. There's a couple of overages with respect to the project. I think that we should be looking at that very closely, so that's minimized. And I am concerned about the fact that there isn't a Wi-Fi system being set up there. And I think if you want to encourage people to go and sit in those areas and encourage pedestrians to walk up and down, we're in a technical savvy community, and basically we need to offer Wi-Fi where people can sit down and sit under the trees and operate their iPads. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I do support the median project. I think it was a good move. I think it showed the benefit of having members of council who are in the game when you're doing a particular project. We have council members who are contractors and work with contractors, so they know how to work with contractors. So when we're doing those kind of projects, we get the benefit from that and save money. I think it could bring more money into town. I don't think people will move to town just because of the pretty median, but I think it adds to the flavor of our town. It shows that we invest in it. It shows that we care about the fairs and the other things that we trying to drive people to the core center and right on the avenue. I think it is business friendly, maybe not the construction part of it, but that never is, no matter what you do. Light rail was that same thing downtown, but the businesses are enjoying that now. What to add? I really can't think of anything because I think they did the best job they could with the money they had and were very prudent with that. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we have one last question before we go into the wrap-up for all of you. And Mr. Magazine, this will be for you. And this is a question I've asked in the past, and then I had someone slip this to me as they came in. And so I'll add my part real quick. Why do you want to do this? We appreciate it. We applaud you. We think it's wonderful that all of you are up there willing to put yourselves out for the town of Fountain Hills. But you're not doing it for the glory. You're not doing it for the wonderful pay package that we have in place.
You just stole my line. I was going to say for the money.
Okay. So, excluding economic development, why do you feel your presence on town council will improve the town of Fountain Hills?
I indicated in my opening statement that I wasn't going to talk about my background, that I have a brochure in the back, but I do have a pretty extensive background in the private sector, public sector, and nonprofit. I've been the CEO of 3 different organizations, all in Washington, D.C. I was an elected member of the Fairfax County, Virginia Board of Supervisors for 2 4-year terms, which is now $1 billion budget, has $1 billion budget and 1.1 million people, and has all the duties and responsibilities of a city. In that capacity, which was the best education I could possibly have had, I was involved in so many things, and I learned so much about local government. By the way, I was also a member of the staff. I was a senior policy advisor for the International City Management Association. So I've had a wealth of experience. One of the things that I learned as an elected member of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors is you've got to listen to the people. I've proposed, and you'll see in my brochure, the idea of a listening tour. I'd like to see the council twice a year at least get away from the dais, go out in the community, maybe the community center, and have people come in and just talk to us. I did that as a member of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. 3 times a year, I had an open house. Typically 100 plus people. I made an opening statement of about 5 minutes, and I said, okay, have at me. And they'd ask every question you can conceive of on every subject. And I got to tell you, to most of you, you'll say, oh my God, why would he do it? And I loved it. I just like doing it. My education is in this field. I have a PhD from the University of Maryland. All of my experience has been in government and politics or something related to government and politics. I'm steeped in it. I study the issues, both national and local, and I can't think of a better career. And so I think I have something to offer in Fairfax County. I'm going back 40 years in Fountain Hills. But first and foremost, you've got to listen to the people, and I intend to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Belliner.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it real simple on this one. I want to bring a breath of fresh air to the process of government with bolder, fresher ideas and with more responsive leadership. And I want to give back to the community that has been so good to me. I, too, have been experienced. I was elected official back in Gibraltar, Michigan. When I was there, I had the opportunity to make a tremendous impact. The residents there were overtaxed so much. that I found out that they were manually implementing the assessing methods and incorrectly assessing properties. So I made a change there. That change is still being felt today. I saved the taxpayers there thousands of dollars. And that's what I intend to do once I'm your elected council person. I intend to look at every single line item of the budget and work hard for you and take care of your most important resource, and that is the money that you give to this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DePorter.
I mentioned in my opening statement that I've always felt myself to be a consensus builder, and I believe that's true. And I've had great success in my professional career at Arizona State University because of that, bringing groups that haven't talked together for years together to the same table, working together across campus to get teams of people to reach out to the same organizations so we look organized, and just really just getting the house in order. I have a successful career of achievement. I'm results oriented. I'm a doer. I do well with goals. You tell me to get 20, and I'll strive for that, and that's something that's very important to me. I'll bring the look through the family lens. That I know we all come from family backgrounds here, but I have the young kids that are going to be in school here. My wife and I are only children, so my whole family infrastructure is here, and we're not going anywhere for a long time. And finally, it's not under economic development, but I have experience under doing public-private partnerships, and I think that's a very important piece. That it's certainly around economic development, but it's an important thing to get things done in town and in any organization you're in when you're trying to fund opportunities that you want to put forth towards a community or an organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman.
If I recall, the question was, what impact could we have on the town in terms of making it a better place to live, or what have we done? I feel my service in the last several years has had an impact on the town. I think that there's been a tremendous amount of contributions, and I'm not going to take credit for that. As I said earlier, it takes a council, it takes a vote of 4 to make things happen. But I think collectively on the councils I've served on, overall, we've done a very good job in terms of moving this community forward, particularly managing our way through the downturn in the economy and coming out fiscally strong without sweeping revenue funds. And with respect to small government, if our government was any smaller, it would be invisible. And in terms of taxes, next time you look at your tax bill, please tell me how much money you're paying to the town of Fountain Hills for taxes. It's pretty low. It's for the mountain bond. Yeah, the Mountain Bond and Community Center, that's it. And those are the debt that will be expiring in 2019. The other side of that, I started tonight by saying my wife and I, we chose a town. We chose a small town. We both grew up in communities. We wanted to raise our children here. We've done that. This community has been awesome to my wife and myself and my children. And you know, recently I'm retired from the corporate universe, so I have time to give. And someone asked me the other day, hey, you're going for a 3rd term. What's up for that? Well, I set out initially to go for 2 terms, but I feel that we've lost several years with the downturn in the economy. There are many, many projects that we've started that I want to bring to fruition, and those projects brought to fruition will enhance our town, solve our not solve, but help with some of our revenue issues. So, bottom line, enjoy volunteering. When I look at my professional career, I think my skill set matches very well, from working with educators one day to developers the next day and everything in between. I enjoy the work, I love the work, and I hope that I get to spend a few more years doing a little more work. We have an awesome town here. You know, this is a campaign. We talk about what we can improve. But step away, my friends. This is an incredible town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now we'll start doing our wrap-ups, and as I listened to you, I could hear that some of you were doing your wrap-up in some ways, but that's okay, because now you each have 3 minutes, and Ms. Belliner, we'll start with you.
Okay.
So wrap up 3 minutes. Tell us why you want us to elect you.
Well, I want to thank you for spending the last hour with us, and I'm delighted to be here. And I'm running for town council because I believe that the next council is going to be capable of dramatically reshaping the future of Fountain Hills, and that each of you here are critical to that growth. And I want to be part of that growth. I want to give back to the community that has been so good to me. And I want to leave you with a question. Again, I want to ask for you to ask yourself, have you felt alienated by those who you've previously elected? Have they been responsive to you? If so, I want to correct that. I want to be your voice on council. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. DePorter.
I just want to let everybody know that I think it's important that you, when you look at who you're going to elect, you put up there who you feel like is going to lead the town, and look through the town through a lens that you think is important. We talked about the lens that I looked through with having the young children, providing the collaborative leadership and being a consensus builder, being already at the game when we're talking about economic development, since that's one of our #1 items to go to. I have ideas about activities, venues, the utilization of social media more to get out there. I want to bring the fresh perspective to town, which I think everybody says that, but I truly am. Living here 4 years makes me very new, no matter what circle I run around in, it seems like. I want to bring my experience, my education. I want to bring my passion for community service. I firmly believe that you need to do good in the community that you live in and be embedded and give back to it. I've thought that ever since I ran for 6th grade class president. I've always thought it was really important to just represent your class and let people bring to light the issues that are the most important to the town. I want to bring my collaborative style and contacts to make an impact on Fountain Hills right away. I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Not part of my planned closing statement, however, the comment about your incumbents and being responsiveness. One thing I don't like about campaigns, and I'm sure my wife knows this as well, in campaigns you need to talk about yourself. Frankly, I don't like talking about myself. I like doing the work. But occasionally, when you're thrown under the bus, it's important to talk about yourself. So I would say that in the last election, I received 70% of the vote. Now, that's a pretty high total. Once again, I'm not patting myself on the back. So I would say that a fair majority of the people in this town probably feel that I'm out there, I'm collaborative, I've been responsive. There's been much accomplished since I've served on town council. A couple projects we've talked about tonight I think have been key accomplishments, not for me, but for the serving council, and that's been the implementation of a new economic development and tourism plan, the renovation of the median long-standing. You know, the state of Arizona, not only Fountain Hills, population is increasing. It's not a problem that's unique to us. We do have a rebounding economy. It's moving up extremely slowly, as we all well know. My goal has always been to manage expenditures and focus on achievable financial goals, achievable, realistic financial goals. We run our fountain how we do because it cost us almost $200,000 in electricity. It's not in the budget to run it a little longer. However, you know, we've taken a look at that, and a council majority has decided, well, let's keep it the way it is for now. Focusing on achievable goals is very important. From my perspective, I think I've added value to the town. As was mentioned tonight, there's certainly room for improvement. My philosophy, and I think I have a reputation for putting community first, not politics. My door is always open, so are my eyes and ears for good ideas, financially achievable good ideas, to make Fountain Hills a better place to live. Running out of time, I'd like to invite you to go to my website. There's some cards out there. It's hard to talk about what you've done in 2 terms. So thank you, Civic and Cultural Association. Thank you all for being here, and see you at the movies. I mean, at the polls. Thank you.
Mr. Magazine.
I'll echo those comments. Thanks to the FHCCA. Is that right? FHCCA? We really appreciate this opportunity. Will Rogers once said, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. Well, this town is on the right track, and everybody has said that they love the town. It's a wonderful town, and I couldn't agree more, and that's why we're here. And those 23 people I interviewed a few years ago, 21 of them agreed. It's a great town, but we can't just sit here. No municipality or state or the federal government can afford to just sit there. You've got to progress, and you've got to progress with the times. I see clearly some of the challenges that we face as a town. Those challenges cannot be swept under the rug. I don't think they're insurmountable. I don't think they're so serious that we have to be overly worried about it. But we can't just sit here. And that's one of the reasons we have a strategic plan. That's one of the reasons I talked about getting the citizens more involved. We can't just sit here. That's why we do an improvement to the median on Avenue of the Fountains. That's why I talked about getting the heads of organizations together to talk about what projects we can do around town. We can't just sit there. We can't stagnate. The town has to progress and improve on a regular, sustained basis. It was mentioned earlier, the Strategic Planning Advisory Commission asked the ASU Venture Group to do a study. And they said that they were concerned, and they outlined their concerns, and they said we had 7 to 10 years to turn things around or we were going to be a retirement town. Now, nobody I've talked to has said they want a retirement town. And that's one of the reasons we have the activities we have, like the Economic Development Strategic Plan. There's a story about Tip O'Neill, former Speaker of the House, who, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, which happened to be where I was born, as close as I ever got to Harvard.
I was born in Cambridge also.
You were? Yeah. Didn't know that. We were both born in Cambridge. Tip O'Neill had been in office many times, 2-year terms, and he had a next-door neighbor who he was just very close to. And as he was campaigning for re-election one year, he happened to see her on her front porch, and he said, "Mrs. whatever your name, I can't remember her name, I'll look forward to your vote." And she said, "Well, I'm not sure I'm going to vote for you." And he looked stunned. He said, "What do you mean you're not sure you're going to vote for me? I've been in office all these years, you've been close to the family, what's going on?" She said, "You never asked me for your vote. I'm asking for your vote." Thank you.
And while we have the applause, I want to just say these 4 candidates up here, they are just the cream of the crop. It's so wonderful to have these people that are willing to put themselves out here and do a job that sometimes can be thankless, sometimes it can be wonderful, but they're willing to do it. And I ask you to give them a round of applause, all of them. As I said earlier, they'll be available for a few more minutes if you want to talk to them individually. On the behalf of the Fountain Hills Cultural and Civic Association, also known as the FHCCA, but I'm also a believer that any kind of publicity is good publicity. So I know the candidates have some material back there. I want to remind you that we have this back there. It tells you about our organization, the many wonderful things we're involved in, and we would love to have you all become members. And thank you all so much for coming out tonight in the middle of July and coming out to listen to these candidates and take an active interest in our town. Thank you and good night.